Hi, I'm Dr. Tracy Pearson, and I'm a legal, political, and cultural analyst on television and radio. I'm speaking in my personal capacity as a voter. I am not affiliated with the Biden-Harris campaign. They haven't reached out to me. I am not on their staff. And so I'm just talking to you as a voter. I want to explain a little bit about where I come from. My handle, Tracy Explains, self-explanatory, right? Is something I came up with because I have the capacity to explain things, very complex things, in very simple terms that people can identify with and understand. Okay, they can relate to it. So if I had my dream job in the world, it would be to explain things. And the biggest audience, not classroom, the biggest audience is the internet, is certain networks, radio stations. And so it's something that I love to do. So that's why I'm doing it. I also believe in the Biden-Harris campaign, obviously. But I want to talk to you politicians in a way that I hope maybe you can appreciate and you can sort of get a visual of. I love to sail. Now, if you're a sailor, and some of you are, you understand that sailors love to watch other sailors. Man, if there is ever a sport where there's shit talking, sailing is actually one of them. You sit up on your boat, possibly with a drink, and you watch other boaters. You watch them try to dock a boat. You watch them try to grab a mooring on the first try. You watch them try to do all sorts of things. And everybody thinks that they can do it better than others. Everybody does. If you sail long enough, you have stories. And boy, do I have a lot of stories. But the reality is that no boater is perfect. No sailor is perfect. I mean, we've all, if you haven't gone aground, you haven't sailed. Truth. Right? So here's what I want you to understand. All the voters are on the dock. The president and the vice president are with us. And we have reservations in November that we absolutely have to make, and we have to make on time. You folks have to get off the boat, and you are trying to make your way somewhere, and you're in a dinghy. And it's one of those that you have to row. And some of you are rowing in the right direction toward the voters and the dock and POTUS and VPOTUS. Some of you are rowing in the wrong direction. You're rowing in reverse, away from the president and vice president. When you do that, as you know, if you have any experience with sailing, what happens is the boat goes in circles. And now, while if I were up on my big boat and watching this, I'd be snickering and laughing and wondering when you were going to get it. But here's the thing. I'm on the dock, and I'm waiting for you too. I'm waiting for you to show up. I need you to show up for the president and vice president, because the primary voters did. We did our job. We went out and voted. Everybody has a job on team democracy. Everybody has a role to play. The most critical role is to vote. Some of us have more responsibility in addition to voting. I could show up at a rally with the vice president or the president, and it wouldn't matter one whit. But you folks in the House and you folks in the Senate, showing up to a rally matters. It matters. It matters because it shows that you support the president. And it matters because it shows that the president supports you. The voters support the president and vice president. If you think that the voters are just going to vote blue down the ticket and be mindless after all of this bullshit that's gone on, I don't think you are sitting in reality. Democracy is on the line. We all have a responsibility to vote. But if you vote for somebody who's going to disenfranchise your vote, that's not a good choice. If you vote for somebody who respects your vote and respects the core tenet of democracy, that's a good choice. I mean, isn't that what we're fighting for, is democracy? Aren't we all afraid that, for example, with Project 2025, that women are going to lose the right to vote? Aren't we afraid of that? Aren't we afraid that this might be the last election? So your solution to that is to potentially disenfranchise the voters by trying to contest a convention, trying to contest a nomination, even though the primary voters have spoken, by continuing to bully the president, by continuing to spew what I consider to be nonsense, that right now in our current political climate, the vice president is going to win by a landslide if she were to be elevated to president. It has nothing to do with the vice president's skills. It has to do with, they've already started attacking her. The maggots have already started attacking this woman, this incredible, brilliant, smart, experienced woman. They've already started. They're doubting her citizenship. Really? Do we really want to go down that freaking road again? Okay. Look, we knew in 2020 that President Biden was no spring chicken. You got behind him and you voted for him. And you supported him. He's still no spring chicken. And he's not a god. He's a human, and he can make mistakes and still do his job. He, in fact, is doing his job. So I need you rowing in the right direction. And that direction is towards the president and vice president. If you are actually a Democrat and you are actually a member of this party, then you know what your job is. Your job is to get behind the president and vice president and help get them elected. To do everything in your power to help them get elected. Not to try to push somebody off the ticket that we voted for. We are much more, I hate to say woke, so I'll say awake. We are much more aware. Because people like me have finally said enough and gotten on camera and explained it to people so they can understand it, about what's going on and how this all came to be and why this is like 2016 and how this is just nonsense. I mean, today I had to listen, or rather read, Chuck Todd do what Chuck Todd does, just like he did to Hillary. I mean, come on. Come on, guys. You're in the dinghy. Row in the right direction, okay? Row in the right direction. Row towards the man that you support. Row toward the man who has supported you. Row toward the man who knows how to do the job. Row toward the man who is doing the job and who you lauded in doing the job, who you celebrated at the State of the Union. Row in the right direction. Row in the right direction towards the man who you opposed the GOP impeaching. Row in the right direction. It's hard for me to reconcile the politicians that were defending President Biden in these dumbass hearings that the GOP was holding about investigating his investigating nothing. It's hard for me to reconcile your full-throated support of the president then and your silence or your opposition today. None of you are perfect. Do not make me get the receipts. I will get the receipts. I'm an investigator by trade, not just a lawyer. I spent years, decades as an investigator. Do not make me get those receipts of the pictures with you and POTUS, the video of you defending POTUS. Do not make me go get those receipts, because I will. And I will spend every day of my life from now until November holding you accountable. And so will your voters. For those of you like the Seth Moultons of the world who think that all they've heard is their voters saying that they don't want President Biden, dude, you haven't been listening. You're not looking at Twitter. You're not watching the fact that you're being tagged repeatedly with a video that I made that I had no anticipation would go as far as it has. Thank you to all of you for doing that. You're not paying attention. Those of you who think that your voters don't support President Biden, you're not looking and listening deliberately. Like that is being deliberately obtuse. Truly. When it comes to polls are shit. Now, I can do that in this video or another video, but I'm going to give you a real short course. The methodology is shit. I have a doctorate, I have 2 doctorates, and I have conducted studies. And I can tell you that the methodology is shit, and that these polls are wrong because of the methodology. I'll do a separate video on that because I want to try to keep this at a reasonable length. But the fact is that polls don't vote. People do. And if you listen to the folks that are doing the door knocking, they don't care about this thing. I'm going to use the word the president said, don't talk about it, but I got to do it. I'm sorry, Mr. President. The debate. They don't care about the debate. They care about how much they hate Trump and don't want Trump. That's it. So I need you folks to pay attention, to listen to the voters, to read my Twitter feed, to see the fact that these people are 100% pissed off right now, and they are activated and ready to run with POTUS to that reservation in November at that restaurant where we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate the re-election of President Biden and Vice President Harris. For anybody who thinks that Vice President Harris can clean up in this election, it has nothing to do with Vice President Harris and who she is right now. She's a brilliant, smart, incredibly talented woman. But they've already got the knives out for her. Birtherism 2 has kicked in. They're already questioning her citizenship. So Adam Schiff, I'm so sorry, Representative Schiff, but you aren't on the same planet that I'm on. And many of you, I think, are being opportunists. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You want to kick the guy off the ticket who everybody who votes likes and wants to try to put yourself on the ticket? Is that what we're going to do? Nope. We're going to honor the vote. We're going to honor the vote, the primary vote, because that's democracy. That is democracy. If you're telling me you're not going to do that, well, fascism has already arrived. And if you're not going to honor the vote, who cares? So I need to hear all of you speaking out in favor of the president, so I know that you're rowing in the right direction and that you're not in the dinghy circling. Now, I can't get all of you on board. The president can't get all of you on board. Some of you are just willing to sacrifice that. But the vast majority of you are not going to sacrifice that, meaning your reelection. I'm serious. You're pissing people off. So get out there with some press releases. Get out there with some Twitter statements. Already some of your colleagues have, because they're rowing in the right direction. And show us that you are going to meet us on that dock. And you're going to help us get to that restaurant for that reservation in November so that we can celebrate. We can celebrate re-electing the president and the vice president. Thank you.